the relationship long term. It cleared the air, let them reset.
Interesting. So the band returned in 2017 with Humans, their first album in 7 years. And the thematic context felt very immediate, very contemporary.
Oh, intensely so. And quite politically charged, actually.
Right. It was conceived as the soundtrack for a party for the end of the world. And Albarn specifically imagined a Donald Trump presidential win as this kind of dark fantasy narrative driving the album.
Which was almost prophetic, wasn't it?
Eerily so. Because the first track they released publicly from it, Hallelujah Money, featuring Benjamin Clementine, came out precisely on the day of Trump's inauguration in January 2017.
Wow.
Albarn saw it as a prophecy fulfilled in a bleak way. And the whole album acted as this kind of commentary on that globally fractured, uncertain moment.
And the production for Humans reflected that, too. It sounded very modern, very urban.
Yeah, it introduced two new crucial figures into the production team. There's the American hip-hop and house producer, The Twilight Tone.
Okay.
And significantly, Remy Kabaka Jr. Now, Remy had been the voice of Russell Hobbs since the very beginning, since 2000.
Right, the drummer.
Yeah. But now he was officially credited as a co-producer and listed as a percussionist, a core part of the creative team.
That's a big shift, recognizing the behind-the-scenes talent more formally.
Definitely. And while the album was generally well-received, had this definite modern hip-hop and R&B feel, some critics did quickly note that recurring tension.
Uh-oh, what now?
A diminished presence from Albarn in contrast to the abundance of featured artists, which, was almost the exact same point of creative friction that led to the fallout during the Plastic Beach era. Déjà vu.
So the very next album, the now in 2018, seemed like a direct response to that, almost offensive.
It really felt like it. Like The Fall, it was recorded quickly while they were touring Humans, trying to capture that spontaneity. Yeah. But more importantly, Albarn seemed to seek this dramatic return to a tighter focus. He explicitly said he wanted to make a Gorillaz album where I'm just singing for once, being very sort of in the world of 2D.
Bringing his own voice back to the forefront.
Exactly. And that decision resulted in a dramatically minimal collaborator list. Compared to the sprawling cast of Humans, that now only had 2 tracks featuring outside artists. The legendary George Benson and the Snoop Dogg popped up again briefly.
So it was Albarn deliberately recentering his own musical voice within the Gorillaz organization.
It seemed that way. And this phase also offered a perfect example of their fluid, almost fourth-wall-breaking narrative style.
How so?
Well, during the album cycle, the character Murdoch Nichols was fictionally imprisoned in the Gorillaz storyline.
Right, I remember that. Free Murdoch.
Yeah. And his substitute bassist in the band's videos and visuals was Ace.
Ace?
Ace, from Cartoon Network's The Powerpuff Girls.
No way, really?
Seriously. The green-skinned leader of the Gangrene Gang. It just shows how effortlessly they can integrate existing pop culture IP into their own ever-evolving fictional universe. It's brilliant, really.
That's amazing. Okay, so this brings us to maybe the biggest structural reinvention yet, starting around 2020. The Song Machine era.
Yeah, this really challenged the whole idea of the album format itself. It felt like a direct recognition of this shift in how you, the listener, consume music today in the streaming age.
Oh, what do they do?
It was a clear acknowledgement of digital acceleration. Gorillaz moved away from those traditional 2-year album cycles and instead launched a web series.
A web series?
Yeah, releasing episodes, which were basically new singles paired with high-concept music videos roughly monthly. Albarn explained it explicitly, saying they were no longer kind of constrained to making albums. We can now make episodes in seasons.
Like a TV show model, but for music releases.
Exactly. An approach perfectly suited for the digital attention economy. Keep the content flowing constantly.
And this episodic format, presumably, allowed for even more immediate and diverse collaborations, showcasing the flexibility of the organization.
Totally. The range was incredible. We saw tracks dropping with everyone from the UK grime and punk scene, like Slow Tie and Slaves on Momentary Bliss,
right,
to the amazing Malian singer Fatoumata Diawara on Désolé, post-punk icon Peter Hook from New Order on Aries.
Wow, Peter Hook.
Yeah. And it all culminated in the album collecting these tracks, Song Machine, Season 1, Strange Time As, which itself featured absolute legends like Robert Smith of The Cure and Sir Elton John.
That's an insane lineup.
It was just this constant, unpredictable stream of new, high-quality content. It kept the band perpetually relevant, always something new happening.
But this highly successful phase, it wasn't entirely without controversy, was it? Something about NFTs.
Ah, yes, the NFT issue. In 2021, which was marking the debut album's 20th anniversary, the band, or rather their management or label, teased some kind of involvement with non-fungible tokens, NFTs.
Okay.
And the fans weren't happy. Not at all. It drew significant, pretty immediate fan criticism online. People pointed to what they saw as an inherent contradiction.
How so?
Well, a contradiction with the environmental themes that were so central to Plastic Beach, remember. Given the high energy consumption and the negative climate impact associated with the blockchain technology used for many NFTs back then.
Ah, right. So Gorillaz, the band that made an album about pollution, were getting involved in something seen as environmentally damaging.
Exactly. It felt like a betrayal of the narrative, of the band's own stated values to many fans. It's a key example, maybe, of where the commercial interests of the organization can potentially clash with the thematic core of its art.
Did they actually release any NFTs in the end?
No, they didn't. After the backlash, the plans seemed to be quietly dropped. No official Gorillaz NFTs were ever released.
Okay. So moving on to their latest phase, which arrived with the album Cracker Island in 2023.
Yeah. This time, the promotional campaign used this kind of weird fictional cult called The Last Cult to tease and announce the album. Very Gorillaz.
And the sound of the album.
Critics generally described it as a refinement of their usual style, sort of consolidating their electronic pop and alternative influences. And it was produced by Greg Kurstin.
Oh, wow. Greg Kurstin. He's huge. Adele, Paul McCartney.
Exactly. Which really cemented their place within the sort of top tier of pop production landscape.
And collaborators. Still a big cast.
Still impressive, yeah. It brought in high-profile, very current features like Thundercat and Tame Impala.
Nice.
Alongside absolute classic rock royalty like Stevie Nicks from Fleetwood Mac.
Stevie Nicks.
And a massive moment of global integration with the biggest streaming artist in the world, Bad Bunny.
Bad Bunny on a Gorillaz track.
Yep. Apparently, the song Tormenta with Bad Bunny had actually been recorded by Albarn way back in 2021 when they were both in Jamaica. Shows how far ahead they plan these collaborations sometimes. The album also got a Grammy nomination for Best Alternative Music Album in 2024. Still relevant, still critically acclaimed.
And finally, looking ahead now, they're already laying the groundwork for their 25th anniversary and beyond, aren't they?
It seems like it. We just saw that House of Con exhibition in London in 2025.
Right. What was that about?
It was this immersive exhibition celebrating their history. And as part of it, they performed their first 3 albums in full, live, recontextualizing their own history for fans.
Cool.
And that exhibition culminated in this surprise mystery show on September 3rd, where they debuted an entire new album, live, 15 songs.
An entire new album. Already?
Yep. It's called The Mountain, and it's officially set for release in March 2026. The lead single is apparently called A Happy Dictator and features the band Sparks.
Sparks. Wow, that's a collaboration.
Isn't it? It just shows that the organization's collaborative capacity is still expanding, still surprising people. The model seems, well, almost immortal.
Okay, so let's try and wrap our heads around this. Part 4, the legacy and anatomy of the virtual band. If we step back from the timeline, what does this massive, sprawling body of work truly mean in terms of legacy?
Well, first off, Gorillaz is just impossible to categorize neatly, isn't it? It embodies this truly postmodern hybrid aesthetic.
The sources definitely confirm that difficulty. I mean, look at the genre tags they get slapped with. Alternative rock, electronic, trip hop, art pop, alternative hip hop, dark pop, rap rock, world beat.
It's everything. They blend everything. They are essentially a new genre defined by the absence of genre constraint.
AllMusic credits them specifically with blending Britpop and hip-hop, which were seen as almost opposing forces back in the late 90s.
Right.
But maybe more importantly, Pop Matters notes that their early work actually foreshadowed the way hip-hop, rock, and electronic elements would meld together in mainstream pop music, something that really exploded throughout the 2010s.
So they were defining the sound of the future, way before many of their peers caught up.
Seems like it. And their influences obviously reflect that incredibly broad scope.
Musically, you can hear bits of the moody atmosphere of Massive Attack, right?
Definitely. And the two-tone ska bounce of the Special.
Yeah, big influence.
The rhythmic eccentricity of Tom Tom Club. The lyrical depth and positive vibes of A Tribe Called Quest and De La Soul.
And global stuff, too, like Fela Kuti. They combine British, American, and global influences just seamlessly.
And visually, the style is just this massive, loving tribute to decades of illustration and animation.
You can see the simplified, energetic forms of Hanna-Barbera cartoons.
Yeah, Scooby-Doo vibe sometimes.
The anarchy of Looney Tunes. The satire of Mad Magazine.
And those sharp, detailed lines of European artists like Mobius and Ronald Searle. Hewlett wears his influences on his sleeve.
And the original idea itself, the virtual band concept, was inspired by things like those 1960s cartoon bands, the Archies.
Sugar, honey, honey.
Ah, yeah. And real bands who used fictional personas like the synth pop band ABC in the 80s.
But Jamie Hewlett pointed to something maybe more profound than just aesthetics when he talked about their legacy. He mentioned the educational impact.
Educational? How so?
He said Gorillaz' greatest achievement for him is its influence. He noted that a significant chunk of their audience are younger people who, through the cartoons and the music, end up discovering figures like Vlad the Impaler, or the artist Ronald Searle, or the whole history of a band like the Specials.
Ah, right. It's like stealth education, hiding inside this massive, cool pop product.
Exactly. The fictional narrative provides this context for genuine artistic discovery. It acts as a kind of gateway drug for musical and artistic history for a whole generation.
That's a great point. Okay, let's quickly drill down on the four main fictional members themselves, because their backstories are really intrinsically linked to the band's musical direction, aren't they? They aren't just mascots.
No, they're structural tools for Albarn and Hewlett. Start with Murdoch Nichols, the bassist.
The green guy.
He's positioned as the central, unpleasant villain of the band, inspired by figures ranging from Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones
Obvious parallel.
to Victor Frankenstein, even Creeper from Scooby-Doo, apparently. He's often depicted as an outright Satanist, wearing inverted crosses and stuff. His function is to introduce the chaos, the darkness, the narrative drive.
Okay. Then there's Russell Hobbs, the drummer. This is where the metafiction gets really interesting.
Yeah, Russell is essentially a representation of the band's core hip-hop and rap aspects, visually inspired by Ice Cube.
And his backstory. The possession thing.
Exactly. His fictional backstory is that he's possessed by the spirits of dead musicians who occasionally speak or rap through him. And that was the original narrative justification for the extensive use of collaborators on the Gorillaz albums.
Oh. It was a perfect built-in excuse for collaboration.
Totally. When Del the Funky Homo Sapien appeared on the debut album, rapping on Clint Eastwood...
He wasn't Del, he was Del the Ghost.
Exactly. Speaking through Russell. The fiction literally gave Albarn permission to work with anyone he wanted, and the character provided the in-universe explanation for the musical shift. Genius.
And Noodle, the lead guitarist.
Well, she replaced an earlier, more conventional guitarist character called Paula Cracker. Apparently, Albarn suggested Hewlett try something different.
And he came up with Noodle.
He redesigned the character as this 10-year-old Japanese girl, a martial arts expert who arrived at their studio in a FedEx crate. It immediately introduced this unique visual and narrative element, allowing the band to kind of travel globally in their stories and musical influences right from the start.
And finally, 2D, the lead vocalist, the frontman.
Whose singing voice is, of course, provided by Damon Albarn, which makes 2D the most direct emotional avatar for Albarn's songwriting within the band. He's the melancholic heart, often.
And we should also just reiterate the central, non-fictional role of Remy Kabaka Jr. again.
Absolutely. He started purely as Russell's voice actor and providing some percussion back in 2000. But he transitioned over the years to become an official credited member of the non-virtual creative team. He's listed as A&R producer in the credits for recent projects like the documentary Reject False Icons.
And that progression really demonstrates the evolution of the entire Gorillaz organization, doesn't it?
Yeah. The virtual members remain the necessary, enduring public face of the brand, but the key human contributors behind the scenes are gaining more official recognition as the organization expands and kind of formalizes its structure beyond just Albarn and Hewlett. Okay, so if we try to connect all these threads back to the bigger picture, Gorillaz' success, its legacy, it's not just about catchy tunes or cool visuals, is it?
No, I think it's fundamentally about creating this truly flexible, adaptive, and crucially non-human creative model.
Right. It's a high-concept shell that allows David Albarn to constantly refresh his musical identity, work with literally any musician alive, jump between genres.
Without being constrained by the expectations that get placed on a traditional aging human band. You know, oh, they don't sound like their old stuff.
Exactly. It is the ultimate vehicle for artistic freedom and potentially longevity. They can go from dub and trip hop on the debut.
Yeah. Dorgark orchestral pop on Demon Days and Plastic Beach, then swing to electronic minimalism on the Now Now, and then completely adopt a dynamic TV season release model with Song Machine.
That kind of radical genre fluidity and rapid innovation is basically impossible for a fixed, traditional rock band. They're expected to maintain a consistent image, a consistent sound, appease a fan base with fixed expectations.
Gorillaz doesn't have that problem.
No.
They are an organization and ever-expanding creative universe. Which leads us, I guess, to the final provocative thought we want to leave you with.
Okay.
Considering the virtual band members don't age, they don't suffer from creative burnout in the same way, they don't demand bigger royalty checks.
Yeah.
The characters, that is obviously not the human creators.
Right, the fictional ones.
Is this virtual, malleable, fictional organization like Gorillaz actually the ultimate, perhaps even financially optimized and commercially resilient band model for the 21st century?
That's a big question. And if the primary artistic constraint the humans involved has been cleverly sidestepped or abstracted, what entirely new, maybe even synthetic genres might an entity like Gorillaz invent next? Where does it go from here?
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling, well, a big one. The 100 Years' War.
Yeah, and that name itself is a bit tricky, isn't it? People hear 100 Years' War and think, 116 years solid fighting.
But it wasn't like that.
Not at all. It's really more of a historical label for this long, intermittent struggle. Lots of conflicts, big battles, sure, but also long truces, peace treaties that fell apart, and these massive external shocks. Officially 1337 to 1453.
Right. And the stakes. I mean, this wasn't just some minor border dispute.
Oh, absolutely not. This was existential, really. It was about who would control France. And back then, France was, well, the powerhouse of Western Europe. Richest, most populous kingdom.
So a massive prize, and it spanned generations, didn't it?
5 generations of kings, yeah. The English Plantagenets versus the French House of Valois. A deeply personal dynastic feud playing out over more than a century.
So our mission today, let's try and unpack those deep feudal roots. Look at the chaotic peaks like the Black Death and Henry V's campaign and see how it all reshaped Europe. Where do we even start? The fuse, I guess.
Yeah, the fuse. And that really starts with land, specifically the Duchy of Aquitaine down in southwestern France.
Yeah.
Gascony, Guyenne.
And this goes all the way back to 1066, the Norman conquest.
Exactly. William the Conqueror wins England, but he's also Duke of Normandy. So the English king is a sovereign ruler in England.
But a vassal in France for whatever lands he holds there.
Right. And by 1337, those lands had shrunk, mostly just down to Gascony.
Right.
And that created this impossible situation. Edward III of England, a king.
Has to kneel to Philip VI of France for Gascony.
Precisely. It wasn't just about owning the land, it was about sovereignty, who had the final say.
Meaning French courts could overrule English decisions made in Gascony.
That's the nub of it. Imagine, a legal case starts in Bordeaux under English administration, it gets appealed, and ends up in Paris, in the French king's court. He could overturn the English king's justice in English territory.
Okay, yeah, that's untenable. You can't be both supreme ruler and subordinate for different parts of your realm without it causing friction.
It was a recipe for conflict, guaranteed.
So that's the long-term structural problem. But what lit the match in 1337? There was a succession crisis in France, wasn't there?
There was. Between 1316 and 1328, the main Capetian line died out. Charles IV died in 1328 with no sons.
And his closest male relative was?
His nephew, Edward III of England, through Charles's sister, Isabella, who was Edward's mother.
So by blood, Edward seems like the obvious heir. Why didn't he get the throne?
Well, the French nobility got creative with the law. They pointed to an earlier decision. Later people called it Salic law, basically saying women don't inherit the throne in France.
Okay.
But then they added a twist. They said, well, if Isabella couldn't inherit the throne herself,
then she couldn't pass that right to inherit on to her son, Edward.
Exactly. Clever, eh? So the throne went instead to a cousin on the male side, Philip of Valois, who became Philip VI.
So Edward's claim was blocked because it came through a woman.
That was the justification. Now, Edward, he initially accepted it, sort of, even paid homage to Philip for Gascony.
but the relationship was just doomed.
And then Philip VI pushed too hard.
In 1337, yeah. He felt strong enough, maybe, and decided to confiscate Aquitaine. Claimed Edward wasn't fulfilling his duties as a vassal.
And that was the final straw for Edward.
That was it. Edward retaliated by formally reviving his claim to the French throne. He declared himself King of France, and the war was on. The feudal dispute became a full-blown war for the crown.
Okay, let's get into the fighting itself. The first phase, the Edwardian War, up to about 1360, this is where we see some really famous English victories.
Yeah, led by Edward III and his son,